Yes.
Yeah. TJ's brother's birthday. That's right.
Show is.
69th anniversary.
It's what?
It's my parents' 69th anniversary.
Good Lord.
Wow. I know. It's like
That is a long time.
I know.
Long prison.
69 years. Holy cow.
they made me another year. I need to do a party for it or something.
gotta do something
If you get 70, that is.
Yeah.
Surprised Sarah stuck with me after 69 days. My God, this guy's the worst.
I give Misty these vitamins every morning.
You change them up depending on how the week went. Well, it's kind of how this message starts, actually. So my first line is, so I recently turned 29. And then based off of the audience participation there is which message you're getting. So I'm going to try it again. So I recently turned 29.
Old man.
There it is. Okay, see, that was what I was looking for. So I'm getting close to the big one. Next year's, number 30. So it's also my golden birthday too. So June 30th, it's going to be my 30th. So we might do something crazy and stay up like past 10 o'clock or something. We're never even home at 10 o'clock, so it doesn't matter. So I lead off with the 29th thing. It is my brother's birthday, so happy 25th birthday to Josh. Quarter century. He's getting old, so it means I'm ancient. But the age thing, like I get a couple different reactions. That's what I was looking for. So I get the young buck. You haven't seen nothing yet. I've got a friend group that I'm the grandpa of the group. There's 4 of us, and they're like 12. And so I walk around and I'm sore, and they're like, "Let's go do this and let's go do that." And I'm like, I just kind of want to get some pizza and sit at home, But the ones that are funny that are not funny is like I'm sitting there and talking in conversation. Like, oh, when you hit 30, you wake up in the morning and your ankles hurt and your neck hurts and something happened, and I'm sitting there and I'm like nervously laughing, and I'm like, what about when that happens when you're 29? I'm like, yeah, I got a year, but I don't. So anyway, it did get me thinking about time in general, and 29 is weird. 30's, I'm sure 30's great. Jess, 30 looks great. You're doing great. But it's been like a long time since some of the bigger milestones in life. Like it's been 11 years since I graduated high school. It's been, what is it now? 7 years since I stretched myself as thin as humanly possible at Mizzou, just trying to get out of there as fast as possible, taking 21 credit hours and 2 internships and a part-time job for PB&J and ramen. And it's been 5.5 years ago since I met the better half and getting, plugged into this cool book that I found. Realized that I wasn't the greatest thing since sliced bread. Thinking about that, it seems like a complete lifetime ago. Like it genuinely just, I can't even remember the person that I was. And I'm not going to stand here and say like I was this horrible, awful person. I mean, I did, some things I probably wouldn't choose to do nowadays. I've switched some things over, but it seems like I don't even know that life. It's been such a different perspective and such a different ride in the last 5.5 years. And 5.5 years it can be a long time, or it can be a really short time. Sometimes it feels really long and sometimes it feels really short. And that's the kind of the concept of today. We're going to look at time. But just to start off, sometimes you look at things that have happened in your life and you say, wow, I can't believe that was 5 years ago. And sometimes you say, I thought that was yesterday. Right. And I think that we can take that aspect or that perspective and that lens with the Bible as well. I looked up something funnier than me this week. I actually put jokes in here because I'm not funny and then I don't read them. So you'll have to deal with this. What did the robber get when he stole 10 calendars? 10 years. I put in parentheses, Brett should be booing right about now.
No, that was good.
That was good. What's another name for a grandfather clock? An old timer. I put that in here because I'm 29 now. So if anybody's older than me, sorry. And then why do rich people buy clocks? This is the last one, I promise. Because time is money. Time is money.
Say it loud and proud, man.
Time is money. All right, no more suffering. That's it. I I'm pathetic. I used the last joke to filter back into the message, because if you wanted to give it a title today, it would be that time is money. So I literally looked up a joke, time is money, so that I could put it in here, so that I could use it, so that I would look better. So deal with it. The first one made you laugh, which is way better than I expected. So we're off to a good start here. But you know the saying, I mean, people say time is money, and I would have to agree. I'm definitely realizing now as I'm getting older and getting, 29 now, time is money. Your time is valuable, regardless of where you put that. Time is valuable. In the hands of the right person, it is a literal unit of value. So whether you want to say the cliche statement of time is money, or you want to put it on a whiteboard that I wanted to bring this morning, but it's really janky and embarrassing, time equals money, you could do that too, in my opinion. And that's what we'll look at today. But when you have something to offer that others desire, you have created value, right? Business 101. So that's typically sold at a different price per person. So somebody's time, it's not for me to say whose time is worth more than anybody else's. I don't have time to offer, so it's probably not super value in general. But some people's time, right, is more valuable than other people's time. And the same thing can be said with money. We're going to compare that. Some people have lots of time. Some people have lots of money. Some people have no time. Some people have no money. When you're trying to buy a house, you find out you have no money. So we'll talk about that this week. Money is valuable, though, because human beings have placed value on it. I mean, that's literally it. It is just a piece of paper. Like, you know what I mean? It based on size or based on number. Like if this was a dollar bill based on size, this would be awesome. It wouldn't fit in my wallet. It'd be worth more than I have in my wallet. But we've placed a value on it as a human society, and then we kind of just roll with that concept. We've placed limitations on money and values based on the number. We've created ways of getting it and losing it. There are also ways to give it away, and there's also ways of taking it away. All this pulls into the concept that money is man-made. Time is a similar concept. And I've said from here before that time is God-given. Time is a concept that God has given us to understand basically why we're here. So I'm not trying to be contradictory to that, but time itself, from our understanding, is man-made as well, right? Like we make up the time frame. We've got the Gregorian calendar and all these things that we work off of. And time is just a way to staple ourselves down to sanity, I guess you could say. I don't know. I'm not trying to be super philosophical, but it's the same way that we look at money. Some people have a lot of it. Some people have none of it. We place limitations on our time with our decisions, and we value it differently with our own variable grading systems. We've created ways of getting more time, both organically and artificially, right? Just look in Hollywood. No need to go any further than that. We've certainly created ways of losing time. Don't take a look at that screen report. I promise you it's not good. There are ways to give away our time. There's ways to use our time wisely. There's also a way of taking time away from ourselves and from others as well. So all in all, money and time can both be used properly and or improperly as a weapon or as a tool. So all depends on what you do with it. So since I'm preaching this week, I got stuck in my ice cream shop conundrum. If you know that, I use that pretty much every time I'm trying to pick out ideas, and there's like this vast galaxy of things to preach on. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to buy a spiritual house, because that's what Sarah and I are trying to do. And it's the worst process ever. And the best way to approach it is to make it about church so that I don't have a bad attitude. So we're going to buy a spiritual house today. So I'm going to pray, and then this horrible, long, corny intro is over. Dear God, thank you for this time. Lord, thank you for getting us here safely this morning and allowing us to get into your word. I just pray that you move me out of the way, give me the words to say, and that this would be relevant, Lord, that it would prick the hearts of everybody here, and that they would get something out of it. And I just thank you for this book. Thank you for this church and what it means to me. And I just pray that we can do something to honor and glorify you both today and throughout the week. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. So if you like me, I did. The screen report already came up and I closed it without looking at it, so we're in good shape.
Same on mine.
Yep. No point in looking at it. There is a point in looking at it, just not for me. If you're like me at all, there's not enough time in the day for everything to be accomplished. And I say that without even having children. So awesome. There's a lot of things that I want to do. Like there's a lot of things that I look at my life and I want to add to them. Not even from like a stature standpoint. Like obviously we want a house, I want a nice car, I want all kinds of cool things there, but there are just a lot of things in my life that I want to do as a person. I want to offer to other people, and I want to be able to say, hey, I accomplished that. It's just my I don't know, prideful man or just like hard tasks. I do not have enough time in my day or my week or my month or my year, it seems like, to do anything more than what I'm currently already doing. Where am I at? Yeah, okay. And then like the whole long game thing. I've talked about patience up here. These aren't like tasks I want to do over a lifetime. These aren't things like, oh, I want to do this before I'm 50, or like I want to do these tomorrow. I want these things done by the end of this year. Right. And so outside of all the things, for the Lord, that obviously takes priority. That takes the biggest slice of the cake. That comes first. But on the backside of that, I want to do all kinds of things. I want to, what I put in here. I went and got my personal training business. I'd love to develop that, right? I'd love to do that online. I'd love to help people and feel better. And I like to do that myself. I like to write. I found this thing this week. I was talking to Sarah. We're just trying to find some ways to, secondary easy income. If I'm working from home, you can write articles for companies and they can recruit you to do their business or their articles or their advertising. I want to do that. I like to write. I want to write a book. I want to learn how to play the piano. I think that'd be awesome. I would love to be able to play the piano. Not very musically inclined, but that's okay. I'd like to develop an apparel brand. I think that'd be really cool. Sarah's really good with the Canva stuff, and she made a couple t-shirts for a birthday party last week, and I was like, that was fun. We were looking up logos and centering the stuff and screen printing and using the Cricut. Like, I want to do all these different things and the obvious ones. I want to be a coach. I want to be a dad. I want to be a homeowner, all these different things. But where does the time come from? There is no time to do any of that stuff if you're not disciplined. There is time. There is a right priority. There is a time and a place. And life has a funny way of reminding us sometimes that there's coming a day when time itself will be irrelevant, right? Like there's all these things and I can sit in this brainstorm of a day. Like, okay, if I get up from 6, if you look at my phone notes, you will literally find this from 6 to 7, I'm going to get up and I'm going to study the business module thing that I signed up for. And then from 7 to 8, I'm going to work on my lesson. And then 9 to 10, I clear my emails. And 10 to 11, I eat a snack. Like, that's me. And then it's 3 o'clock and I haven't done any of those things. So life has a funny way of curbing that. Okay. All these other things are really cool to entertain. They're awesome things to think about. They are exciting. They are not bad things. It's not a bad thing to want to play the piano or to, be a coach or to do all these different things. It's just a matter of the time and the priority slot that you provide these things in context with your relationship with the Lord. So time itself, quote unquote, is mentioned 619 times in your King James Bible, 619 times in a matter of 562 verses. So my guess is that it's a topic of importance. It's something that God wants us to pay attention to because in our best interest, God doesn't prefer to waste our time. Believe it or not. Believe it or not, God is not interested in us just squirming around down here and not doing anything. He doesn't he doesn't really whine through long intros and corny jokes and soften the crowd, right? When you're reading his word and the scripture and the stories that these guys have come and wrote, he tells us what needs to get done. He tells us how to get it done and not to waste time because he's on his way back, right? If we truly believe that that's the case, God is on his way back here. I'm selling myself out this morning. Anybody ever get like that list of chores during the summertime? Your mom goes to work, your dad goes to work, and there's a list of chores left for you. My parents left it on the microwave because I only ever eat. That's all I do. I just eat. Getting this guy called out. I'm sorry. So they leave the list of to-dos, right? And they leave it on the microwave because they're like, DJ's going to wake up and the first thing he's going to do is he's going to eat. And then he's going to go to the bathroom and then he's going to eat again. And then he's going to get a snack and then he's going to watch SportsCenter and then he's going to eat again. So there's absolutely no excuse for him to not find this to-do list. Okay. The scariest thing of all time is a missed call from mom. The second scariest thing of all time is sitting on the couch in your pajamas still watching SportsCenter when you hear the garage door open. You're toast. It's over. It is too late to be saved. And I have found myself in that situation too many times. Might as well forget the to-do list. There's a couple times where it's like, oh, I didn't see it. And it's like on the counter where I took it off the microwave so I could put the pizza rolls in and it's still there. My parents are like, yeah, you really didn't see it. So I say all that to say my parents really didn't have much interest in walking in the door after working for 9 or 10 hours and seeing me, who woke up at 11 and got Taco Bell for lunch and then played FIFA for 4 hours, say, oh, I forgot I was watching the game, or I'm sorry, I got distracted. Like, I'm sorry, did I interrupt your day with my work day asking you to do the dishes and to mow the lawn, right? So I think that God is probably going to have the same perspective. Like when he comes back, when we're not waiting for him, when we're stuck with our hand in the cookie jar and we're watching Sports Center, or we're focused on building this house and buying this land when there's work to do for him, and he walks in the door, I don't really think that he's going to be interested in me saying, how was I supposed to know when you were going to be back? You weren't. I didn't tell you when I was getting home. I told you what I wanted you to do while I was gone. And when I got here, I was expecting you to be done with it. And I wasn't. So turn to Luke chapter 12 with me. And we'll read about this just a little bit. Luke chapter 12 actually has one of my favorite verse chunks in here. And we're not going to read it today because we don't have time. How about that? But this will work too. Luke chapter 12, verse 16. And he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. We're going to build our house that I talked about, don't worry. There's a process in the meantime, though. When you're trying to build a house or you're trying to buy a house, you got to save money. I'm learning that now. You got to save money. You got pre-approved. You got to be, you got to figure out this time frame of whether you're selling a house and the time frame that comes into buying a house. Like there's a time frame of prefacing and getting set up. You don't just go out like a car and say, hey, I want this. I'm going to leave with this car today, right? So I'm setting this up. Don't rush me, okay? I'm just rushing myself. It's okay. The rich man here has a situation that the world would call a good problem to have. That's a good problem to have. You got a lot of stuff, right? You got a lot of room. You got a lot of vehicles. You got a lot of money. That's a good problem to have. We'll give him a name. We'll just call him Daniel. Just random. Yeah. Daniel, look at all this stuff you have, right? You have so much stuff now. You don't even have the space. You don't even have the space you need for you and your beautiful wife. You got a puppy. Weirdly specific. 2 new cars. You got 2 TVs, 2 couches. You got appliances. You got the list that goes on, right? This Daniel guy, he's the worst. You know what you should do is you should take all that stuff down. You should get rid of all that stuff so that you can have money, and you should go get more. You should go get more stuff because you don't have enough stuff. You don't even have enough room for the stuff that you have now. What happens when you get more, right? Go get more stuff. But what happens in the midst of that, though? While we're building this empire up, while we're taking this time that God has given us, you're working in the field and you're trying to build this barn and you're tearing down. And, I just imagine looking over on the fence post and God is leaning there saying, what you doing? Right? What you doing? You're like, oh, whoa, I didn't see you pull up. You got the hybrid car or something. You didn't even make a noise. I didn't even hear you coming, right? The finite things in life have a funny way of sneaking up on us, even though we know when they're coming. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 is just another warning to us about being careful with this concept of time that we have. If you turn over to chapter 5, verses 1 through 4. Let's get that. We'll read verses 1 through 4. It's like new drivers when they're driving and they hit a parked car on the side, it's like, oh, it snuck up on me. I don't think it did. I don't think you saw it because you weren't looking. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 1 through 4 says, but of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that the day should overtake you as a thief. Thieves don't typically tell you when they're coming. It's kind of defeating the purpose. You wouldn't mind going to a movie tonight? I'd like to steal all your stuff. If you want to leave the door unlocked, it'd be a lot easier, but either way, I'm taking it. So, Have a good time. I've heard that the Top Gun movie is great. So we may be talking doctrinally about the Lord here. You're talking about of the times and the seasons. He's talking about the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. Doctrinally speaking, the rapture, the second coming, the millennium. We know these things are to come, but there's a day in this Bible that has our name written on it as well. There's a day that as a thief in the night, he's going to come get us. And whether that's together in the rapture or that's going to be a day that has our name written on it, you're not going to know. You're not going to get to prepare for that probably. Most people don't, and if you do, typically it's a long drawn out process that kind of sucks and you can't do anything in that time frame anyways. So I don't know what's worse. So it's just a matter of understanding that it's not a bad thing to want good things. I think I say that pretty much every time. It's an important concept to understand. Having a truck or having a house or having whatever, it's not a bad thing. But what are you doing? What is the balance, right? Like you have 99% of your time building up this kingdom for yourself, with the temple, spending 13 years on my house. And I'll give you a couple days here, God. I'll build you a temple. There's some dead hay over there. I'll put that together and you got something where it rains. It'll keep you dry for a little while. But it's coming, and so we'll build our house now, right? We've got 3 things here that we're going to build our house with. And so I say, get your cargo shorts and hard hats on. Cargo shorts were a thing in high school until they weren't. And I think I was a little behind on that. I wore cargo shorts when I was like a junior and senior, and they definitely were not in anymore, but they are super practical. So I can say that now that I'm 29, because if it comes across as being old, I'm almost there. So it doesn't matter. Okay. Anyway, if you're looking for like an outline, this is like your first big point. If you want to write this down, you can. You don't have to. The first thing is that your time is money. Time equals money. So buying a home is a process. In all reality, it's a committed relationship for most. Maybe an abusive one. Not only that of a literal sense in the fact that you and your spouse are looking for a home together, or your friends, or I've moved in with buddies, I've lived, whatever. You have a relationship with your realtor. You're putting your name on something for 30 years. Typically, that far exceeds any kind of money that I would think any of us have sitting in our pockets. Maybe you do. But it's a relationship, right? It's something that you want to get to know. It's something that you want to invest your time in. And your time at that perspective becomes money. So in order to buy this house, we have to find a willing party, somebody who has already done the work to provide and maintain this house or to build it, right? We're going the build or the buy process. Somebody who willingly says, we want you to now have our house based off of what you have to offer, right? We want you to have this house based off what you have to offer. And if it's enough, then we'll accept it, right? So this sounds a little bit like salvation to me, right? And I've stood up here before again, and I've said salvation is free. Salvation costs you absolutely nothing. And that is true, but it also costs you everything, quite literally. I mean, salvation can cost you everything. It probably should cost you everything. It should be a blank slate to say whatever this was, whatever I had, whether it was a bad life, bad decisions, or a good life. I grew up in church. I grew up in youth group. I never done a bad thing in my life. It's a clean slate, right? It should be everything going forward from there as a new man, right? All things are passed away. So Jesus Christ built this house that we all want to be a part of. I would hope. I think that this room is probably a clean slate there. He's maintained it and offered it to us. And regardless of how many times, I've already said that. It just takes a little bit of a desire, an offer, right? What I put in here, an agreement. And luckily, God accepts all offers. Not everybody accepts all offers. I'm mad. Put in an offer last night, and they said they don't like us. They didn't say they didn't like us. They didn't just choose us.
Did you tell them your jokes?
Freaking last on the playground. No, I should have.
Yeah.
You can't write letters anymore, so whatever. Oh, I opened that. Sorry. No. You don't want people being chosen based off of sappy. Oh, I would. 100% I would. Our realtor told us though that there was a lady once that wrote a letter and was like, "Hey, I'm a single mom of 2. I got one on the way, and but she wasn't pregnant. She didn't have any kids, and so." I'd do it. Not really. I wouldn't do it. Yeah, I didn't get to tell my jokes. Not everybody accepts offers, okay, guys, but Jesus Christ does. So build a house with him. It's almost free. You just have to show up to work. We're going to hopefully buy a house this week. That's sad. And part of the process is taking the time to find it and go see it and inspect it and see if something that you want to be a part of. You get to be a part of this process as well, right? You have to have a buyer or a seller that wants you, but as a buyer, you get to make the choice and you get to investigate and say, I want to be a part of this, right? There's lots of houses out there that I don't want. I'll tell you that. There's some janky houses out there. Okay. But when you do find that, when you do find the marriage of a seller and a buyer that want each other, there's things that happen, right? There's a relationship with Jesus Christ. Part of that is the earnest, right? I'm learning a lot of things. I never bought a house before. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, right? Here's what we'll put down to show you that we're a serious buyer. Here's my earnest. Here's, you don't have to worry about what our down percentage is, all those things, but here's an earnest. Here's $2,000. Here's $5,000. Here's whatever it is to show you I'm a serious buyer. I want to be part of this home buying process and I want your home. Right? And that relationship with Jesus Christ should be the same thing. Here's my earnest. I want to be part of this house. I want to build this house with you. I want to be involved. I'm serious about this. I'm not coming in here with $30 and a paperclip in my pocket to say, hey, I kind of like this house, right? Because that's not going to last, right? Because that's not how it works, right? I wouldn't sell my house to you. Jesus Christ would, but whatever. Here's money that we've earned and saved to give to you to show you that we're 100% serious about buying this house. When you look at what Jesus Christ has done for you in the spiritual house he's built, it's a process, and it is that start of that relationship. I may have got ahead of myself here. No, I'm good. Maybe you spend some time in church, right? Maybe you've been to a youth group. I'll be honest. Growing up, I went to a couple different youth groups. I went to a couple different lock-ins. Some of them were really cool. Some of them were really weird. Okay. Some of them were really weird. And I did not want to be part of that house. I didn't want to go to that birthday party. I didn't want to go to the house. I did not want to buy that house. It is a choice. Okay. So maybe you find the right house. You find the right neighborhood, right? You spend some time and you say, hey, I want to invest in this. This is worth my earnest and my time. This is worth my money and my relationship here. Okay. You put an offer in on it and the seller has to decide if your offer is the best. The good news is Jesus Christ thinks that your offer is the best if it is an earnest, and repented heart, repenting, whatever. Forget the house analogy for a minute and understand that if this is something that you want to be a part of, that's literally all it takes, right? If all it took was an earnest payment on a house, we'd have a house right now, right? It's so easy with Jesus Christ. If you want to build a house with him, if you want to move in there, you want to buy that house, all it takes is that earnest. All you have to do is say, hey, I want to be part of this. I'm 100% serious about this. This is what it means to me. And here's what I have to offer you. So the story of Hannah here is a really good example of this. Turn over to 1 Samuel chapter 1, if you will. How are we doing on time? So we're going to read verses 9 through 11 and then 19 through 28. It's a little bit of a chunk, but it's also Hannah, so you'll have to deal with it because I like Hannah. Verse 9. So Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh and after they had drunk. Now Eli the priest sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord, and she was in bitterness of soul and prayed unto the Lord and wept sore. And she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but will give unto thine handmaid a man-child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. Okay, Hannah is playing the long game here, right? She's in for the 30-year mortgage. She's in for the earnest. I don't really think there's any much more that she could offer here. Her prayer is one that we should probably emulate on a daily basis, whether we're buying a house or we're just doing anything. Recently, and it's a little bit tougher this morning, knowing that we didn't get it last night. But I've been praying, and this isn't like a super Christian thing, so I'm not doing that. But I've been praying that if God wants us to have a house, that he makes it blatantly obvious. Like, make it not painfully obvious, because I don't want to be painful. Make it 100% clear. Like, just paint it on my forehead, because I'm not the smartest guy out there, right? I'm a little oblivious. I'm a little short attention span. Like, God, if you want us to have this, like, tell me, show me. I'll be honest. I got really excited yesterday, and this is why you can't do this with numbers. But I talked to our financial guy. he called us back and he told it, the insurance and all this and whatever, and don't do the math, don't matter. But he said the principal would be about 1611. And I was like, we got it. We got the house. Let's go. God wants us to have this house. It is blatantly obvious. And they're like, no, we didn't take your offer. I'm like, cool.
I get it.
That's why you don't do that. I was like, dude, that was easy. Let's go. I should have known better. Anyway, that's all Hannah wants, right? Like her time is her money. Like not to be rude, but like in the context of the story, a woman that was barren in these times was not super valuable. Like she wasn't. These guys, these families were looking to reproduce, recreate, and build a workforce. Like, give me sons, give me a lineage, give me a workforce. And here's Hannah, who obviously Elkanah loves. If you look back earlier in the chapter, I won't get in that. But she can't do that. She doesn't give him offspring. And so she's looking for her purpose here. She's looking for her value. And what she has to offer here is her time and this son that she's going to have. So in verse, we'll pick it back up in 19, and I'll read to the end of the chapter. It says, and they rose up in the morning early, and they're talking about Hannah, and worshipped before the Lord, and returned and came to their house to Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her. Wherefore it came to pass, when the time was come about, after Hannah had conceived, that she bare a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, because I have asked him of the Lord. And the man Elkanah and all his house went up to offer unto the Lord the yearly sacrifice and his vow. But Hannah went not up, for she said unto her husband, I will not go up until the child be weaned. And then I will bring him, that he may appear before the Lord, and there abide forever. And Elkanah her husband said unto her, do what seemeth thee good. Tarry until thou have weaned him. Only the Lord, establish his word. So the woman abode and gave her son suck until she weaned him. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her with 3 bullocks and 1 ephah of flour and a bottle of wine, and brought him unto the house of the Lord in Shiloh. And the child was young. And they slew a bullock and brought the child to Eli. And she said, here's where it drops off for most people, right? Here's where this doesn't happen. Like, you give me this, I promise to do this with it. And then the story there would end, for me at least. Right? But Hannah follows through. It says, and she said, O my Lord, as thy soul liveth, my Lord, I am the woman that stood by thee here praying unto the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord hath given me my petition which I asked of him. Therefore also I have lent him to the Lord. As long as he liveth, he shall be lent to the Lord. And he worshipped the Lord there. Hannah's time was her money, right? That was her quote unquote money. This was her currency. She had time to give the Lord and a fertile heart, right? And he gave her a child, a fertile body, right? The Lord was, this time was the earnest that she offered him. I am more than serious about building this house, Lord. And if you consider this earnest I have to offer, I promise that this boy shall be given right back to you and used to glorify and honor your name. I think that's a big thing. Part of our prayer that Sarah and I have been praying is like, we want a house, but not because we just want a house. Like, we want a place for people to come over. Like, allow us to use this house to glorify you, or to bring people over to have Bible study, or to do discipleship, or to just be a place where people can understand that this is a house that will serve the Lord. You got that Joshua verse. I don't know what it is, 24:15 or something like that. Everybody puts it up on their house. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Good. I hope it's true, right? I'll give me the sign. I'll put it up, because that's what that house is going to be used for. And that's what Hannah says. Hannah's a story of patience and a time commitment to faithfulness, only to be succeeded by the follow through. That's the big thing, right? In basketball or baseball, you shoot the shot. If you stop your hand movement as soon as the ball leaves your hand, it's probably not going to be a very good shot, right? I used to get in so much stinking trouble as when I would swing, I would stop as soon as the ball hit the bat, because I want to drop it and I want to run. And my dad's like, you only hit singles because you stop swinging the stinking bat the second it hits the ball, right? But the follow through is what carries the power. That's what finishes it off. You got the start to the finish. And once you follow through, you lead through. We're in the coaching. I told you I want to be a coach, right? You get that through, you got contact, and you follow all the way through. It finalizes that process, and you get a lot more power, right? You follow through in these processes with the Lord, and they're going to deliver the better result. Okay. Time is money, but it's not always cash flow, right? Second point here is that your time is labor. think the Lord knows that's the truth. So if you're going to build or buy a house, you need a workforce. I think Hannah wanted to have kids. Your time is labor, and you get to choose what kind of labor commitment you want to submit to. You can build a really nice house on a big plot of land, and you can place trees and landscaping, and you can change backsplashes and paint. You can do all these things, or you can go out and you can find some scrap from the junkyard and you can build a lean-to that keeps your head dry. It just kind of depends on the labor that you want to put in there. There's a saying in life that life is hard. I've said it before. Life is hard. But you get to choose your hard. You really do. Being healthy is hard. It sucks sometimes, I'll be honest. Donuts are so dang good. Being healthy and making good conscious food decisions is hard. And going to the gym is hard. And saying no to Mexican Coke, man, is hard. It's so hard. But being unhealthy is hard. Getting up every morning and not feeling good is hard. Getting up and not being able to walk up 10 stairs. 10 flights, that sucks. Walking up 10 stairs and being winded is hard. Going to the doctor because you have medical problems, because you're unhealthy, is hard. So choose your hard. Choose which one you want to be a part of. Being wealthy is hard, right? Working hard. You got to find the job. You got to grind it out. You got to make the deals and the promotions, and you got to make the calls if you're a salesperson, or you got to do the reports or whatever it is, right? But being poor is hard, right? It doesn't mean either or are bad, but living paycheck to paycheck and not having food in the fridge, that's hard. Like, you get to choose your hard, your labor. You get to choose your labor. Being a Christian is hard sometimes. It's really easy most of the time, honestly speaking. Sometimes it's hard, right? But you could either choose to waste the 70 years of life that we have here. You could go spend it on riotous living and be the prodigal son. Your heart is going to be looking at our Savior in the eyes and saying, I didn't really want to be a part of you, and then spending an eternity in the lake of fire. I think that's a little bit harder than just spending some time with the Lord and giving him over, your life. So Paul, we'll look at Paul for this one. I'd say if anybody was in it for the long haul and not afraid of the work, it was Paul. Paul experienced both hards, right? Paul was the Pharisee of Pharisee. He was well-versed in the law. He was, in pursuit of Christians and killed and did all these different things. And then he was the Christian of all Christians. He started, pretty much the reason why we're here today. He experienced both sides. And I would say, knowing, did I get ahead of myself? Hold on. I don't want to give away my thing. It's one of my other funny pieces. If I say it now, it's going to ruin it. It's probably not going to be funny anyway. Whatever. Paul went through it for this spiritual house that he wanted to buy for the Lord. Okay. 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Turn over there. We got 6 verses to read. Bless you. Keep it down. Just kidding. I don't know where Corinthians is, apparently.
Right after 1 Corinthians.
Hey, thanks. New Testament?
Yeah.
Thanks. Come on, I'm flipping these pages right in the microphone, so Gene's probably like, good Lord, come on, sword drills. All right. 2 Corinthians 11, 21 through 27. Mm-hmm. 21 through 27? Yep. He says, I speak as concerning reproach, as though we had been weak. Howbeit, whereinsoever any is bold, I speak foolishly. I am bold also. Are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they the seed of Abraham? So am I. Are they ministers of Christ? I speak as a fool. I am more. In labors more abundant, in stripes above measure, in prisons more frequent, in deaths oft. Of the Jews 5 times received I 40 stripes, save one. Thrice was I beaten with rods. Once was I stoned. Thrice I suffered shipwreck. A night and a day I have been in the deep. In journeyings often, in perils of waters, in perils of robbers, in perils by mine own countrymen, in perils by the heathen, in perils in the city, in perils in the wilderness, in perils in the sea, in perils among false brethren, in weariness and painfulness, and watchings often, in hunger and thirst, and fastings often, in cold and nakedness. The dude has been through it. All right. This guy is not afraid of work. He's not afraid of negative consequences and ramifications because he knows that the labor is worth it. He knows that this hard is worth it over the inverse, right? Look at all these different things. I mean, I'll just tell you right now, if I spent a day and a night in the deep, I'd be done. I don't care. Whip me, cool. Not interested in it, but physical pain, whatever, right? Stoned. Don't hit me with rocks, please. But if I had to spend a day and a night in the deep, if that means what I think it does, if I had to spend a night in the ocean or even in a large body of water by myself, I do not like swimming where I cannot see below myself. You can call me a baby. It's not my favorite thing, okay? The open concept of the ocean is literally terrifying to me. Don't care about spiders, snakes, bugs, boogeyman, clowns, dark. I spend a night in the woods in the dark. I don't care. Do not put me in the middle of the water in the middle of the night. I am not interested in that. You would not find me there again. This guy just keeps going back. He's like, you hit him on the head. He's like a dog, right? You smack him. He's like, no, I just want food, right? And he just right back to it. We go on walks and Cooper eats the mulch and it makes me so angry. And I smack him and I dig it out of his throat and I throw it. And he looks up at me and gives me this side eye because he's got attitude. Then he pouts. And then the second I look away, he eats it again. I'm like, bam, right? And I think Paul is just like on this one track mind. He's just got this mission to do this labor, to do what he's been asked to do. Where am I at? Sometimes your labor is all that you can offer. Honestly, sometimes that's all you have, right? Sometimes you just show up and say, here I am to work. Just tell me to do something. That's kind of what I do on moving day. Or like when we fixed up the house that my parents bought. I'm not a good painter. I'm not a good designer. I'm not a good measurer. I'm not a good builder, but I can move things. Put something in my arms and I'll go from here to the other spot and I'll do it all day until you tell me to stop. Or my arms fall off. They almost did. Thank you, Lord, for getting movers. If we have any money left over when we buy a house, I'll offer you the same courtesy. But, point one, you need lots of money. So. Yeah. That'd be your gift to you. You could say soul. Anyways. It's worth the work. It's worth the hard, right? When we're looking at these houses, there are some people that haven't touched these dang houses for 40 years. And it's like, holy cow. You look at this house and you're like, you want me to give you this much money and you haven't opened that door since 1985. It's like, I'm not doing that, right? And you think about it, a Christian, do the same thing, right? Build this house, right? Start today. Today's day one, and don't touch anything. Don't touch the Bible. Don't spend an ounce of prayer a day with the Lord for 40 years and see how attractive you are to a spiritual Zillow, right? Like, you don't want any part of that. Like, that's not going to develop. It's not worth much value. Your labor is worth more than you think. Paul's labor is the poster child of how we can spend our time. We don't have to go around starting churches like he did and, putting our life on the line and getting in prison and stripes. And please, God, don't ask me to be stranded in the deep. I'm telling you what. But here it is. Here's his closing costs. Okay, that's the joke that's not funny that I didn't want to ruin earlier. The house analogies are rampant. I'm so sorry. 2 Timothy chapter 4. All right, these are his closing costs. Verse 1-8. I charge thee, therefore, before God and the Lord Jesus Christ, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing in his kingdom. Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all longsuffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. But after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables. That is happening right now, I tell you what. Verse 5, but watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. For I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. I have fought a good fight, I have finished my course, I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but unto all them but unto them also that love his appearing. Anything worth doing in life is worth doing correctly. It just is. The right hard is worth choosing, and your labor is going to be rewarded accordingly either way. You're either going to get the reward that you choose for being a slouch, or you're going to get the reward for putting in the work. If you buy a house and you don't do anything to it, your reward is going to be less money, right? We bought some of these houses. The one that we really wanted had huge potential. It had a lot of potential. It was really exciting because you walk in there, you're like, look at all these stuff I can do. Now you walk into a church and you're like, oh, look at all these principles I can learn here. Look at all these different ministries I can get involved in. Look at all these things that I can do, right? And if I don't do anything to that, if I tried to sell that same house that we were trying to buy in 10 years and didn't replace the HVAC or the roof or the water heater, or I didn't paint it, or if it was brown all the way throughout, I'm not going to even get as much as I probably bought it for. Maybe this market sucks, but you get what I'm saying. Like, if you don't do anything to it, it's not worth it. 1 Corinthians 3:8 says, now he that planteth and he that watereth are one, and every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. You're not going to get the reward for what somebody else does. You're not going to get this awesome, opportunity to cast crowns back at his feet because you were in a church with somebody who did. You got to do it yourself, right? These people, you're not just going to have somebody walk up to your door and knock on your door and say, hey, I'd like to remodel your house for you and do all this work. You don't have to pay me. It's cool. I'm just bored. And then you can sell it and just keep all the profit. Like, if there is, find me. This is live on YouTube, so I guess there is somebody out there maybe, but got to get a house first. All right, third one. Your time is material. I'm really not mad. God's going to let it happen. It's fine. I'm just using it for comedic relief. Time is material. This is your last point. Am I sweating because I'm up here, or is it warm?
It's great in here.
It's warm.
It's a little warm.
Okay.
That's perfect.
It'll sweat a little bit up there.
All right. I'm laboring. Time is material. All right, last one. You have money and you have a crew. Now you just need some material. Luckily, God has the greatest workshop this world has ever seen. Patented in 1611 with an eternal warranty on all tools built by the Savior of the world himself. Where are you spending your time shopping? Right? Where are you going to shop? Are you shopping at Walmart? Shopping at Aldi's? You're going to Costantino? What we choose to build our lives with and the material that makes up the chemistry of our relationship with the Lord could not be any more important. It is essential. It is absolutely essential. Just like building a car with cheap parts or building a house with cheap parts or whatever it is, you're going to see the effects of that in the long run. It may suffice for the time being, but the material that you use is absolutely important. Are you building a bonfire or are you building an altar? I think we're doing both. I know it's a super rare story. I had to find this one deep in the recesses of the library, the restricted section, but we've heard of the three little pigs, right? So the first pig felt the freedom of making his own choices, right? Mama sets him up. Mom says, done everything I can for you. Time for you guys to get out. You eat too much of my food. I leave notes on the microwave that you guys don't do. So you guys can go do your own thing, right? So the first pig gets out. That freedom hits him in the face. He's going to college. He said, I can do whatever I want. Spends about an hour. He finds some dead hay laying around. He says, this will do, right? I got time. I got other stuff to do today. I got places I want to be. I got friends doing this. I got this trip. I found a little bit of dead hay over here. I'm going to put a house together so I've got something to come home to tonight. And we'll be good, right? Spends about an hour on it, puts the HUD up, takes a step back, pats himself on the back. Self. My dad says that. I said to myself, self. Right, you take a step back. You built your house. It looks good. Wolf catches wind of it, though, right? Wolf smells that bacon. And he comes in and he says, obviously he wants in. He wants to be a part of this. Let me in. I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to be part of the house. It's cold out here. It's not cold out here. It's hot out here. Let me in. I need some AC, right? Pig denies him. You know the story. Doesn't let him in. Wolf doesn't like it. Blows it down. Comes in, and the pig narrowly escapes to find second brother. So second pig says, nice job, idiot. Who builds their house out of dead hay, right? I've got all this dead wood laying around, right? I walked up. I found all this dead wood laying around. I didn't even have to chop it down. It's almost like nobody even wanted it. It was just laying around. So spent a little bit of time. It took me a little bit longer than your hay house did. But here we are, right? I put up, I'm not going to say that. I really wanted to, but I'm not going to. Anyways, it's almost like nobody even wanted this wood, right? It's almost like the good wood is used on something else, and I just used this for free, and it was there, and it looks good, and I put it up, and I've got, you get the point. Yeah. Wolf catches wind of the double bacon portion. He's like, all right, cool. I'm going to get the Baconator this morning, right? Huffs and puffs and blows, right? You know the story. They don't let him in. So by this time, it's time for sunset. Pig 1, pig 2 get away, narrowly escape the roaring lion, the wolf. Third pig's been working all day, right? He's sunburnt. He's like me. He's beat up, broke a finger, sprained an ankle. He's working all day. He's tired, sweaty, but he took everything he had from Mama Pig and he went and he invested it in the local precious stone shop and he got some bricks, right? And he put this house together. He says to the other 2 pigs, you're welcome to stay here anytime. There's more than enough room. So it looks like you've had a rough day. Don't you remember how Mom said anything worth doing in life is worth doing correctly? Right? Did you think that there was never going to be a storm to blow over your hay or rain to pelt your dead wood and wash down your little house there? A house is something that requires adequate time and material, so it's important to do it correctly. Okay? The roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour, is walking to and fro through the meadow. 1 Peter 5:8, wolf, lion, same thing, right? Comes up on the house and says, well, here we go. They're all in the same spot. I'll just get them here and call it a day. Right? He huffs and puffs, passes out, a little blue in the face, doesn't work with the bricks. He wakes up, so he's scheming, he's planning. Meanwhile, the pigs are at work, right? They're in the safety and the sanctity of their precious stone house. They're working, they're developing, they're growing, they're getting bigger. And the wolf says, I know, I'll go in through the top. I'll go in through the chimney, right? They were prepared. Crazy, right? Their house is ready, prepared to withstand the storm. They have the boiling pot, the lake of fire in the midst of the house, and the wolf falls into it and is in there forever. And the story says that the pigs eat him. That's weird. But anyway, you get the point, right? He's gone. Did I do that correctly? Is that right? Okay. So we're looking at the 6 factors of 1 Corinthians 3, obviously, right? And the materials that we'll carry to the judgment seat of Christ. We can build our house with the wood and the hay and the stubble, these dead things that when they're burnt up and they go through tribulation, they're going to be gone. You're left with nothing, and then you're exposed, and the wolf can eat you. Or you've got the gold and the silver and the precious stones. Where am I at? It's your time. It's your material, it's your labor, and you can choose which hard that you want to do. If you want to build your spiritual house in 5 minutes with whatever wood, hay, or stubble is laying around, then you can enjoy the rest of your day and go along with that. Or you can take some time to build it. It's the same time commitment. It just depends on where you have to pay the bill, right? Isaiah 28:10 says, for precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line upon line, here a little and there a little. Seems a little repetitive. I read that and I'm like, why? You know what I mean? But a brick house is repetitive. I mean, if you think about it, it's just brick after brick after brick after brick after brick. It's precept upon precept, and then it's line, and then it's line, and then pretty soon you have a brick house. So anyway, it really does matter who and with what you involve your life with. Right? It's a simple story of the 3 little pigs. I genuinely believe that you can find the Bible in anything. I think you should. Right? There's no new story. Ecclesiastes talks about there's nothing new under the sun. I mean, all these kids' stories and songs and concepts and movie plots, I mean, it's all biblical. It's just a matter of how it applies and where you see it. It matters what you build that house with. If you go out and you find a 4,000 square foot house with a pool and it's 40 grand, something's wrong with it, right? It was built with a glass foundation, or it's in the whatever, it's on an Indian burial ground or something, you know, something's wrong with that house, right? You've got to find the perfect marriage of the price and the floor plan and the square footage and the school district and the foundation. You know, it's a matter of a labor, and it matters what you do with that. Spiritually speaking, I think that's, yeah, I'm getting close. Spiritually speaking, your time is your source of income. It is your labor, and it is your material. The list goes on. You know, it's your tool bag. It's your all these. What is it? Your comfort. I was listening to the radio was on, or not the radio, but my shuffle came on this morning, and Josh Turner's has a song, "Time Is Love," and I was like, "Oh, cool! I can put that in there." And I was like, "No, I'm not going to." So, time is a lot of different things, right? There's a lot of different things, but the only thing you don't get to choose is how much time you actually have. You can you can choose how to spend it. You can choose how hard you want to use it. You can choose where you use it and who you give it to and what you take away, but you don't get to choose how much time you actually have. That one is outside of your control. So, conclusion here, just think about this. It kind of hit me. Sarah talked about So we have to give our apartment a 60-day notice of moving out. And then, so we're trying to, kind of put that together with when we're trying to find a house. And so we were just sitting there, standing, and she's like, I can't believe we're only going to be here for 60 more days. And I hadn't thought about it until then. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, like we're out of here in 60 days. And I'm looking around and like all the stuff that we've put up on the walls and the couches. And I've lived there since February of 21, so it's been a year and a half. It's been almost 2 years by the time we're out. And I was like, we're not going to live here anymore. Like, this is over. Like, we're not going to live here in 60 days. So just, if you haven't paid attention to anything, pay attention to this. It got me thinking, like, right now, where you're sitting, if you went home to be with the Lord, are you okay with the time that you spent here on earth? I was standing in the living room and I was like, am I okay with the time that we spent here? Like, did we get as much out of this development that we could? Did we get as much out of this apartment? Did we do the things we talked about? Did we spend the Christmas here? Did we put the decorations up? Did we go to all the restaurants? We talked about trying this, and we literally only go to Chipotle and Chick-fil-A. That's all we ever do. That's it. And I'm standing there. I'm like, would I be okay with like the time that we spent here? Because it's a little ways out there. It's off 69. It's about 20 minutes from everything. And then I was like, oh man, Spirit's just like, am I okay if this was it? If on the way home or on the way up the stairs or tonight or whatever it was, would I be okay with the time that I spent here? Would I be okay with where I'm at? And not only looking retrospectively of the time that was spent, but if the next breath that I took right now was standing in front of him and I didn't have time to clean the house, right? Like somebody shows up on your doorstep, like, hey, we were just in the neighborhood. And you're like, there's 800 dishes in the dishwasher or in the sink, and I haven't vacuumed, and the Cooper's got 15 toys out, and I haven't even bought him 15 toys. And it's like, I'm not ready for you. I can't tell you to wait outside while I clean my house and then let you come in when I'm ready. Like, you just showed up. You're just here. So now you get to see my life in all of its glory. Because when you show up, when I tell you to show up, my house is clean and it smells good and the doors are closed. You can't see in the bedroom where we shoved everything. But when you just show up, you get to see how I actually live, and you get to see my house when it's in the normal state. And that's how God's going to be, right? He's going to show up as a thief in the night, and he's going to say, what you doing? Here we go. How was that time, right? How was your long belabored 75 years on earth? Welcome to eternity, where you have absolutely no idea and fathomability of what's going to go on here. Got some dishes in the sink. Your vacuum is dusty. It hasn't been used. It's supposed to pick up the dust, not collect on the outside, right? Life is great when things are going well, but is it really great when things are going well? Right? Are we ever truly satisfied with the things that we have? I was asking myself that. Are we ever going to get to a place in life where you never entertain the what if I had fill in the blank? I get myself with that all the time. Maybe you will. I don't know if I could reach that point. I know with more stuff, I could give it a try. But I'll probably never obtain it. Life should be great when things are going well. But when my life is going great, when my carnal life is going great, my prayer life stinks. Right? When my life is going great and things are going well at work, my reading time stinks. My whatever it is, right? And time is a lot like money. The more of it that you have, the more of an enemy it can become. And typically, the less of it that you have, the more dear it is to you. I'll just tell you that. I'm looking at my bank account sometimes when I was at Mizzou. Holy cow, man. If somebody bought me lunch, I would never tell them this, but I'd go home. I wouldn't cry, but I'm like, dang, like I got to have a cheeseburger today. You know what I mean? And like my parents bought all my groceries and they helped pay for my loans and everything. So it's not like I was roughing it. So if you watch this, don't take that the wrong way, but I didn't go home for a couple weeks at a time sometimes, or I didn't go home for a month or a month and a half. And so groceries and milk and eggs and don't last forever. And 21 credit hours and 2 internships that didn't pay you and a part-time job at Lids in a Macy's. I just took my homework and did it there on the table because the Macy's went out of business a month after I graduated. There was nobody ever there. So I'm like just trying to figure out a way to get to the next weekend I could go home. And I'm looking at my parents' pantry and I'm like, oh, there's cookies and ice cream and chips and steak. And I'm like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't even know where that went. Oh yeah, it's more dear to you when it's less, right? So just I don't know, hold on to that. It doesn't mean that we have to crawl through life as this broken vessel of pottery and this Job 24/7, but it does mean that time is of the essence. Like we got to get after it. Time spent in the Bible and prayer and ministry is never going to leave you with that bad taste in your mouth. We talk about that. Like you're never going to look back and say, did I really read my Bible for an hour today? Like, why did I do that? An hour. That'd be a thing. Anyway, your time is your currency. Your time is your labor. Your time is a tool and the material that you have in the short time left to do something for the Lord. So I suggest that you use it wisely. And that would probably start with me not rambling anymore. So I'll be done. Dear God, thank you for this day, Lord. Thank you for this message and for this church and what it means to me. And thank you for just allowing me the 15th and 15,000th chance, Lord, 5.5, 6 years ago, wherever it was, and getting a hold of me for, good Lord, I don't know how long it took you, but thank you for sticking with me, for being patient with your time, Lord, and thank you for allowing it to be something that we get to use. I pray that we would be more aware of it and that we would offer it to other people and help create better time and better labor and just do something for somebody else, Lord. Keep it on our hearts and minds this week, and that we would apply it to our lives. We wouldn't just walk out of here and forget it. And thank you for the people here. Thank you for getting us home safe and for the rest of the day, whatever that entails. And we thank you for your son and his sacrifice and the willingness to give us a book that we can rely on forever, for quite literally forever, Lord. And we love you. In Jesus' name, amen.